Yeah, it says I'm viewing your screen now. I can see your screen.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
It is now 11 o'clock here in Waco, Texas, and time to get started with our best practice series. Number one on the Teleometrics online webinars, the first of three. This one is on getting started with Teleometrics online. Today's session will be presented by Ken Fries, who is the founder of Factor Factory, as well as an LMI franchisee since 2004. Before we get started with Ken's presentation and session, I want to start off by going over some items. First of all, in housekeeping, this session is being recorded for future use. In order to get the best recording we can, we are all starting off being muted. And there will be time for questions. When there are questions, Kent will actually say, does anybody have any questions? At that point, raise your hand. On your control panel, you have a little hand icon. Raise your hand. It will show up on my end, and then I will call on you. I will unmute you, and you can ask your questions. Also, you can send questions through your control panel. So that's all we're going to have for housekeeping, because I want to get going and get started with our presentation from Kent. And I'm going to make Kent the presenter. Here we go.
Should be up.
It
Good.
is.
Thank you, Sam. I am glad to be here today and excited to begin this series of webinars on Teleo and moving it onto the cloud. It's been a bit of a road, Sam, where we've worked together really over almost the last 2 years to go through a progression to move Teleo online and make sure we had the technology ready to show all of you. And today we'll kick that process off. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to walk through a slideshow. You should see the first slide now on your screen. So I'll walk through some of the background and then get into the system itself. And as we said with the workshop, it's intended to help you understand telemetrics better, some of the science behind telemetrics, understand the new online version, what's different about it, why it's important, and also see an example of using one of the Teleo assessments in a program. And actually, here's the agenda for the call. We'll leave some time for Q&A, mostly at the end, but I'll take breaks in the middle as we get through each of these sections to let you guys share your thoughts. I know I'd seen the attendee list, great group of people who I know or we've met over the years, and I know some of you may not be aware, but over the last 5 years I've really focused on continuing my education with a focus on industrial organizational psychology and assessments and all the science behind this. And be happy to talk to you more about that, but I just wanted people to be aware. And through that, over the last 3 years, I've actually built a company called Factor Factory that focuses on publishing assessments. And with that, I'd like to jump over to the Achieving Leader and Telemetrics and some of the science behind it. The slide here covers I know some of you are familiar with Teleo, so you're familiar with some of this background, but I did want to cover it. The Achieving Leader project, sometimes previously called the Achieving Manager project, was started by Jay Hall, who founded Telemetrics, actually in the 80s and into the 90s, where he did research that involved 350 companies, 16,000 managers, and 60,000 total participants. And LMI now owns this, and we have access to the great tools that came from this. But the research was very important, and then it identified a model of leadership and left us with some very nice, useful tools in our leadership business that we can use. The background of this, the Achieving Leader project, was that Jay Hall actually decided to look at creating an integrated model of leadership. In other words, can we understand what good leaders look like? And in doing that, he designed this study that involved first looking at the performance of a large group of managers, the 16,000 managers, and benchmarking them in that performance realm with how they performed in their various industries. And he used something called the MAQ, which isn't terribly important for the call, but what he did is looked at how they performed in their industries and broke that down. You'll see the bell curve here represents a distribution of managers across performance. Now this doesn't really, at this point, doesn't have anything to do with the Achieving Leader or the Teleometrics tools. It's really looking at manager performance in isolation. And from that, when he understood the distribution of performance of managers, he divided that using statistical techniques to identify low achieving managers, average achieving managers, and high achieving managers. And in that, his goal was to really take a deep look at the high achievers and begin to understand, is there something unique about these high achievers that is important and unique that we can model? So the next thing he did is he actually devised 6 different areas using existing research in psychology and leadership to bring that research together into one study to say, okay, let's look at leadership values, let's look at involvement, let's look at communication, work motivation, power and empowerment, management style. He actually constructed 6 different assessments or assessment models in these areas using that research that existed. And these were seminal research studies. These are very important key studies in the area that were well known at the time and are still well known, that he pulled together into one model. So what he did then is, with the assessments that he had, he actually provided these managers from the study, the 16,000 managers, with these assessments. So he evaluated those managers in the 6 areas. And he also did something else unique. He actually had each of the managers get feedback from generally 3 subordinate employees, typically, who gave them feedback on these areas as well. So in that, there were actually 12 different assessments that were being measured to look at their performance in these areas. What were their attitudes in terms of the first one, and then what were their behaviors in terms of involvement, communication, motivation, empowerment, and style. From that study, what he was looking for was, are there any common tendencies, behaviors, and attitudes among those highest achieving leaders? And what he found was, in that analysis and looking at this, to say, wait a minute, do the high achievers do something different than the rest of the leaders in the study? The beauty of this is he did find that there were characteristics of those high achievers, both in terms of their belief systems and their behaviors, that were substantially different. So what we have in these tools is actually a benchmark of high achieving leadership that we can use to assess leaders in our programs and give them objective feedback on how they compare to this high achieving standard or ideal. So that's a little bit of the science behind this. I'm happy to explore this for those of you who would like it in more detail, but for the purposes of the call, I wanted to give you a little bit of background that would help you understand these assessments. And as you saw earlier, the assessment areas are leadership values, employee involvement, communication, motivation, power and empowerment, management style. We're going to look more deeply at communication today, but next Friday we have a follow-up webinar where we'll look more deeply into all of these. The importance is we have this great research, these great tools that we can actually pull into our existing LMI programs and processes that we're already familiar and comfortable with, and use them both within a program or even as standalone tools for, say, a workshop. Or in Webinar 3, we actually get into using this as a standalone developmental program all by itself with all 6 assessments. So let's talk about this a little bit. The assessments that we have now from Teleo are typically paper-based. So for those of you who've used it, I've worked with Teleo for about 10 years now with groups, and you have paper assessments you have to distribute, give out to the individuals participating, and they also have to distribute the feedback assessments to a group of employees, 3 employees who fill them out. And everybody has to go through this paper process of completing the assessments. And then there's a very cumbersome process of reviewing that, scoring them, managing all the paper that has become somewhat antiquated in the modern world. Most people expect to be able to access these sort of assessments interactively and electronically in the cloud. So what we did is we moved the Teleometrics tools onto the cloud. Let's talk about, I want to share with you a little bit how it works, because some things happen when you move into the cloud. We worry about access and ease of access and security and what's behind all what's behind the curtain here in the Wizard and the Land of Oz. So as I jump forward, I want to talk to you a little bit about why move them online. Some of this may be obvious. Obviously, it's easier to distribute the online version to people who are connected on the web than it is paper. Not everybody can access online. There are certainly situations where that may be a bit more complicated to get people to complete it online, but for the most part, this is much, much easier for them to handle. The other thing is, just in general with assessments like this, as you use them in programs, people love to get personalized feedback. They enjoy completing surveys, and then they enjoy getting the feedback and actually seeing something that's very individualized and personalized to them. I think that's important to how this can supplement, say, an existing LMI program. The assessments are easy to complete online. They can do it on a laptop. It's compatible with phones and tablets, so they can do it on whatever device they have. So it's very easy for them to do, and we make access to it very easy as well. For them to get to the assessment is very easy. The other thing that we gain from this is we can actually gather data on what's happening out there with these assessments. So as you're using them, that data is being collected in a database over time that we can use to further modernize and improve these assessments, which happens in the background, but it's very important. It's a very important feature of this. We also have the ability to now report more easily. The scoring's easier because it's automatic. You just get a PDF with completed results and scores. You don't have to take time doing that. We also can report on groups. Say you're working with a group of 10 managers. You can actually aggregate the results together, show them composite results for the group, which can be very helpful for them to see. The other thing is, if you're working with larger companies and you're doing multiple groups, you can actually look at aggregate results over say 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 groups of managers you worked with. You can then go to the CEO or other senior leaders and show them, one, the benefits of the program and tendencies within the company that may not otherwise be obvious. The other side to this is moving online makes it easier to provide things like multilingual support and provide multilingual support in multiple ways. For instance, you may want the administrative part where you access to be in English, but you want Spanish surveys for Spanish-speaking individuals, and all that is in the pipeline for the future. The other thing is, where's this coming from? Who's Factor Factory? I told you a little bit about me, but Factor Factory is a company that was formed about 3 years ago now. We have a team of 5 people dedicated to Factor Factory and software development. We have experts in both psychology and industrial organizational psychology, kind of the science of all this sort of thing and assessing people, as well as software development and technology. So we have a strong team of people that are continuing to evolve this technology, and we've been releasing updates to software, and we'll continue to do that for about the last 3 years, and we really about every couple of weeks we have a new release. The other thing is Factor Factory, we are a publishing company. This is what we do. So Teleo is a piece to this, but we look at other assessments as well, and we work with companies, for instance, corporations, to do custom assessments and surveys for them as well. And we're here to help. We have assistants, we have expertise on board here to help you understand how to use Teleo in your work and make this work if you have questions. So the other part to this is security. If you move into the cloud, security questions come up and can be a concern. The beauty is we are actually hosted on Google Cloud Services. Some of you may have heard of Amazon Web Services. Google Cloud Services is really their competing platform, but it is a highly redundant worldwide platform with military-grade security, data encryption, backup recovery, all that's done off-site, and your participant data is confidential and secure. Some of the acronyms you see there, like RSA 4096, SAS 70, HIPAA, all these things are terms you may have heard, but depending on the industry you work with, pieces of this may be more important. For instance, if you're in Europe, compliance with the EU data handling directives are critical. With certain types of industries, the PCI standards may be critical. With healthcare, HIPAA, and in other areas, SAS 70 can be critical. But the key here is it's a highly secure, highly redundant, very reliable platform, and it can scale for growth. The beauty of the cloud is we can actually purchase as much processing power as we need and not worry about where we're going. We use what we need, and when we need more, we can get it. And another important part is Google is very environmentally friendly, and the entire Google Cloud Services platform is carbon neutral. And you can learn more at cloud.google.com if you're interested. Good stuff. And Sam, let's just take a break here. Does anyone have any questions so far about where we're at? I know I went through the theory of telemetrics and then jumped into the platform, but any questions?
If anybody has any questions, click on your hand so you can raise your hand. And we do have a question here from Rich Lewine. Rich, you're live.
Right.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Rich.
Hey, Kent. How are you?
Good.
Good. The first one's an easy one. How many guys are on this call?
Right now it
what do we have
shows
about?
17 right now, but there's actually 26 that were registered.
Excellent. Excellent. The second, I'll have more of a question later, but it will be, maybe it's because of my new situation here, but will anyone be available to maybe physically come down here for some sales help on Teleo?
Rich, absolutely. I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Good.
You and I have kicked things around a little bit, and I am certainly open to assisting in that way. And always, I travel a lot as it is, so I'm always happy to travel for opportunities.
Well, during the winter.
Happy to talk to you about that.
Okay.
yeah. During the winter, pick a like a February date,
Right.
Rich, where I can come down. Yeah. So
okay,
that's a great idea. So I'm open to that. And one of the points here I make in this presentation is we're here to help. I mean, I want to promote this. I want to help. I've spent 10 years working with Teleo. Many of you know that I'm a big fan of Teleo and what it's all about. And I want to promote it. We're promoting it through the platform, and I think it's an important research that can be a great asset to you and your businesses and give you something new to work with. So we're excited about that. Good.
I need a unique factor as an entry level down here in a new territory that doesn't know anything about what we do.
That's great.
Yep. Okay.
Good.
Onward.
Any other questions?
I see a question here from Mike McGrail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually unmute Mike and let him ask you his question. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I had a question and an observation. Now, a question was about Android and iOS capable. You mentioned that they're iPad, tablets and all that. Are they actually going to be ready to be used on an iPad or an Android or those kinds of things?
It is, and it's ready to go, Mike, for tablets. It's web-based, but it's fully compatible with tablets. And we'll work on Android phones. I've used it quite a bit on Android. I know iPhones it works fine. The possibility of, say, an application at that level is not off the table either. But for now, it's designed as an HTML5 interface around the survey, so people can get to those surveys online with whatever device they have.
Great. The second one was an observation to Rich and you about traveling to Florida. As much as I'd love to travel to Florida, I hope we can get some virtual sales help as well.
Yeah, virtual is easy, Mike. That's an easy one. Traveling's a little more complicated, but I think either are on the table. That's what I'd like to create a community of interest for people within LMI who are interested in telemetrics, so that we can share ideas and support each other in this as we go on this journey. So.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Let me. I'm gonna jump into shortly here. I want to go on to the platform and actually show you what it looks like, both as what's called a partner, which is what all of you are, and as a user in the system. And there is some new terminology that you may hear me drop as we talk, and I just thought I'd put up a quick slide here to share some of this. There is an assessment is really one of these Teleometrics tools, the old paper booklet. That is an assessment. Sometimes we'd call that a master. On the system, we actually split that into the master assessment, which is what you purchase, and a batch. And a batch is a term that we use for a purchased block of tokens or units that you can use. So a batch might be, if you're going to do an EPP, you have 12 people, you want them all to complete the communication assessment, you would buy a batch of what's called the Management Relations Survey with 12 tokens, and you'd buy that, and that would be treated as a unit within the system with its own link and its own surveys and assessment results and all that packaged together so you can access it and use it. So a batch is kind of an instance of that. The other, I mentioned the partners, LMI partners will have a login with password secured access to get to your own tests and results and all that good stuff. And I'll show you that in just a second here. An assessment taker, maybe not the best term, but it's the term we use for a participant who's going out and completing surveys. And we actually have both leaders who complete surveys. Sometimes in the Teleo world we call it self, and then we have raters that the old Teleo called others. And as you know, or you will learn, is Teleo actually allows a leader, that would be the participant in your program, to complete a survey, a self-assessment, and then get feedback from typically up to three others who complete surveys for feedback, and that's the normal structure. So a little bit of terminology here. This is typically called a multi-rater survey. Some of you may be familiar with the term 360 assessment, but the idea of a multi-rater is you're getting feedback on a single person from multiple survey results. And so those are some of the terms that will pop up. If any of that gets confusing, by the way, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk about it. So let's go in and let's have a look at the system. I'm going to, hopefully all the technology works as expected, and take you into the system. So one of the things that we'll do is the process of getting an assessment. I wanted to walk you through and let you see it just like everybody else would see it. So when you want to purchase an assessment, you have an opportunity, you're interested, you'll call the home office just like you always would to place an order. And when you place that order, a couple of things will happen. One is, let's see if I can bring this up. You can see here, hopefully everybody can see that. But what you'll get is an email for your account creation. So this, if it's the first time you ordered, you'll get an email with your account. You can see here it has your email and it has a password reset, which is actually for you to set up your password the first time. And you'll click and go into the system and go ahead and set your account up. And I'm going to bring that up here. I think that'll look better. There you go. So as you come into the system and your system is set up, you'll log in, and this is the screen you'll see. So as a partner, when you come into the system, you see all of your assessments. And in this case, we set up one of the personnel relations survey for you to complete. And in this case, we have 48 tokens available over here. So it tells you a little bit of information. So let's open that up, take a look at it. So now we've set up the assessment, we have it available, and we want to share it with participants. So as you come in here, you'll see there's some tabs over here on the left and some information about the assessment. So what you're seeing here is the title, the description, what it's all about, when did I purchase it, who owns it, and we want to make a few changes here because we want our participants to see a nice welcome screen. So we'll come down here, click on Edit, and as we come into there, we'll see, come over here, and we're going to add a nice welcome message here through the magic of cut and paste. And we're going to add a nice title for this up here. And now we're pretty much set, although let's just add a nice little thank you down here. So what you're looking at here, this is the title, and you'll see here this is all WYSIWYG, so it's flexible. You can use big fonts, make it pretty, use colors, bold, whatever you want to make this look nice for your participants. And what you're looking at, this is what they'll see when they first come in to the system. I'll show you this in just a second, what it looks like from their end. Down here, the goodbye message, this is when they complete the survey, what they'll see. Now here I just put a basic thank you, but you may put things in there like a reminder of the date of the first session or other information or a link back to your website or a link to an informational page, whatever you want. You can put all that in here. Another key part of this is the link right here to take the survey. Now the system is set up so that when you purchase a survey, participants are self-registering. So they use the link and they set their own name and information up and answer some basic demographic questions when they complete a survey. You don't have to set up each user in the system. So let's save that. And so you'll see that's saved. One of the other options here, you'll see here are two options. One is display results immediately. So you can set it up that when they complete the survey questions and finish that they can immediately get their results. And in this, I'm going to set that up. I'm going to check that. So you guys, when you do this, when you complete it, you will immediately get your results. There's a few other things on here. You'll see over here some of the information about the type of test. We are actually getting percentile results, and that's what that report type over here means. And we've selected a norm of working adults. So they're being compared to basically everyone who's completed this assessment in the original study and being benchmarked against that. And I'm not going to, that's a little beyond the scope today, but that is all set up, and now this is ready to go. We have a few other options down here that they could set. I won't get into that too much today, but you'll see here you actually have some ability to email out the results at a later time, which is a little different than immediate results. So you could say have all 12 participants complete the assessments, and when it's all done on a certain date, you email them out maybe the day before you're scheduled to meet with them so that they have those results in advance. And this lets you do that and do it in a very efficient way. So that's the assessment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here and pop up an email for all of you. And so what you do now is we have an assessment set up, and now what we want to do is send out an email invite for our participants to complete that. I want you to see the whole process, because this is effectively walking through what you would do to communicate with your participants. And so now from there, I have all of your emails. I should have everybody, and I'm cheating with cut and pasting to make it a little faster. So I've got everybody who participated in the call and a nice email here, and I'm going to send this out to you. And one thing I'll do is do this so it comes out as Factory. There you go. So everybody in the call you now have. Now please don't do your survey yet. Wait till after the call. But you've seen the process, so that's basically what you would go through, the whole process end to end to actually set up your survey. So you'd call Stacy or whoever's available at LMI to place your order. You will get the information back via email, and once you have that, you can jump right in and set this up, and you always have access to your assessments that are in here. And what I'll show you is as you're going in to the assessments, you have a few other tabs here I didn't talk about. So the first thing you have is as results are completed, you can see Chris on my team actually completed an assessment in here for you guys to see the what it looks like. So now you're looking at a completed assessment in the system, and from here I can actually go out and grab the report if I want, and let's just save that. Open it up. So within the system you can see here's the communication assessment and results and whatnot. So that's a copy of the PDF. So you can always get to the report. So even if they download results immediately when they take the survey and then they come back, they lost it, whatever, you always have access to it here. And you have historical access. So over time, as you accumulate your customers using this, you can actually get back to historical data to see trends, or if somebody calls you a year later and says, hey, do you still have that personnel relations survey that I took, and you can say, yes, I do, no problem. You can also email from right here. You can email results back out to people, and if you have 100 people in here, what's nice about that is you can check them all off and send. You can also download the information from the report. Say, for those of you who are good at Excel, you could download the results into an Excel file using this download factor data, or create a composite report of all the participants. So some nice options here to get in there and get results, get them back out to people, or actually do a little more data analysis for the group. Like sometimes I create a slide with averages for the group, so they could see, here's the ideal average score for your group, and then they have their own results in front of them. The other thing is you can see incomplete results. So what people can do is they can get in, they can complete part of a survey. You know, most of the surveys, like this communication survey, takes about 15-20 minutes to complete. So that you have the opportunity here that I can go and do part of it, come back to it later, and they have a recovery link here which will take them into the survey, essentially right back to where they were. So in this case, I've gone in before the call, did a survey, partially completed the first section of 6, and this is the communication survey. We'll pop this up. And you can see here the questions, and the way this works is it's a slider. So you answer the question that way by moving the slider, and you can go through here. So this is what the survey looks like for the end users, and you'll see that when you complete it yourself. Sam, can we open up? Does anybody have any questions while we went through that? Anyone curious about anything I maybe didn't show or went through too quickly?
Anybody have any questions? Please raise your hand.
All right.
I do not see any hands.
I hope I was so thorough, no questions emerged.
This is a sharp group.
Yeah, they are quick learners. So as we go through this, let's talk about how you might want to use this with a group. So we have the assessment, we go through, we can get to the results very easily. So now we have an easy way to distribute these assessments around key leadership areas out to a group. So let's talk about that. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. And, so how do we use this in an assessment? So let's take a look at the EPP. The EPP lesson 4 is on communication. Some of you may be familiar with it. I actually, as we take a look at this, you may recall the social styles model that's used from TRACOM in that lesson 4. So we have a model in there for communication style built around personality, using these 4 styles, kind of similar to DISC. If you're not familiar with this, it's not unlike DISC. And but this is a needs model. So this tells you about their communication interpersonal needs is really what this is about. The Johari window, the communication assessment that I just showed you, uses something called the Johari window model. And I'll show you a picture of that, what it's all about in a second. But the Johari window is focused on a communication practices model. So it's very complementary to what's already in the EPP, and it gives you an additional tool to provide participants in a program with additional feedback, objective feedback, using this tool that looks at their own practices and how they handle communication. And the 2 areas we look at in the Johari, one are their tendency to be good listeners, or what's called feedback seeking on the Johari window. That also involves creating an environment that encourages others to speak up and share what they think, what they know with that individual, your participant. The other side of the model is called exposure, or how they tend to share information, share what they know about a situation. And this is a great way for them to see, how am I doing with communication? Are there ways I can improve, especially in a leadership role or within a team? Are there ways that I can improve my communication practices? So I think between the 2 of these, that actually they're very complementary, they fit well, and it would be easy in an EPP to add a single additional assessment, maybe an additional lesson where you would cover this, depending on how you want to handle it, and then probably the size of the group and factors like that may come into play, that would emphasize communication. And we know communication is a subject You know, my clients talk about it all the time. How do we improve communication and openness? And this is a great tool to do that. And as I said, the management relations survey and the personnel relations, those are the two assessments that are in Teleo in this area. Look at the Johari window, and I'll just spend a moment on this, and I'm not intended to, this isn't sort of a certification session level on this, but I do want to expose you to this to get you thinking. The Johari window actually has these two dimensions of feedback seeking or listening and exposure or sharing, with the idea being that we want to enlarge the arena. We want this area to be the largest of the 4 areas of the quadrant formed by the level of feedback seeking, which is this vertical line, and their level of exposure. And they see this in the assessment when they get their results back. They can actually see the arena, how large their blind spot is. Blind spot are things that others know about them that they don't know. The facade is things that you know, but you choose not to share with others. And then there's an unknown area out here in the quadrant that is an area of potential growth and improvement for people, because unknowns are things that others don't know and you don't know, and that might be things like someone's potential for growth, potential for leadership, potential for problem solving and helping the organization. So a lot of good things can be lost in the unknown about people, and if you work towards helping them minimize this quadrant and maximize the arena, you create a much more effective communication environment. What I like about this is it's a very simple model that tells an organization a lot. So as you look at things like an individual result, you can coach someone and understand how to improve communication and use goal setting techniques with that to help them set goals to improve. The other is if you look at average results across a group of managers, depending on who that group is, that can give you a sense of the culture of the organization. For instance, I was working with a community bank a number of years ago in the middle of the recession. Regulatory issues were really problematic, and the bank was under a lot of pressure. What I was finding is the exposure scores were way down. There was a lot of feedback seeking but low exposure, and we were able to work together to talk about what that meant and how that might hinder their ability to make it through the recession, deal with the regulatory issues. And it was a very productive discussion that showed them their communication practices were actually suffering as a result of some of those external factors, and helped them work through it. As we look at the use within the EPP, I'd open the phones up again here, Sam, to say, does anyone have any questions about the integration of a Teleo tool within an EPP, or even for those of you out there who've used Teleo tools, have any of you actually done this, and maybe you could share with the group your experiences?
I do not see any hands being raised.
Okay. You know, this is something that I've used. Now, I've used the paper versions in the past, and it's been very effective, as I said, to expose this and share, and you can use it. And it's a powerful way to add strength to a program, to complement a program, to add that feedback piece that, as I said earlier, people love to get feedback on their own practices and their own behaviors, and this can be a great way to supplement that and help them get that feedback. What I would, the other thing I would say is, does everyone have their email? I just asked, sent that email out, does everybody have that email? And if you don't, maybe you registered late or the email didn't get through, just let me know if you didn't get it. We can get it out to you. I see Mike's got a question.
Yeah, Mike, you can unmute yourself.
Now I see what Rich was asking a little earlier about sales assistants. What I'm thinking that we're probably all in need of is some collaboration assistance, specifically around the pieces that you know the best and the pieces that we know the best. When we interact directly with the customer, we have one sense of the customer and that sort of thing. But when you get this information from your own past experience, a ton of things immediately come to your mind that won't come to my mind. how do we collaborate on that sort of issue and, as a team and as individuals, or how do we get to the level of being able to be effective users of it quickly?
Yeah, the one thing, Mike, as you get set up as a partner on the system, we actually have a collaboration area on Factor Factory on the platform. It's kind of a collaboration forum, you know, kind of like the old bulletin board style thing that you can actually get into and share ideas. And as you are registered and have an account, we're going to create an LMI area where LMI people can post questions and really use it as almost a support area, Mike, where there can be mutual sharing. I can provide some support from my experience, and I'm hoping that it creates a community of interest around people that are using the Teleo tools and allows you to get answers like that. And then beyond that, obviously, support around, you know, providing support through webinars or that type of thing for potential opportunities, or to take the next step to Rich's point about literally getting, you know, if there are organized, you know, opportunities available, is really exploring that as well to say, maybe I can go on site, or we can work that way to help make sales. Does that make sense, Mike?
I have Mike muted because his phone was ringing.
Oh.
He's unmuted now.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yes,
Okay.
that certainly does make sense. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So I think it's great though, but I do imagine us creating a community of interest around this. I'd like to see us promote that and continue to encourage it. Lisa, I think Lisa Taslow is next.
Okay. Lisa, I cannot unmute you. Did you put in your code for your phone? Okay. Let's see if I can do. I'm going to unmute everybody, and hopefully we won't have a whole lot of noise. No, that's not working either. Okay. Lisa, if you want to ask your question, you're going to have to put in your code into your phone so that I have control over your muting and unmuting you. In the meantime, what we're going to do is going to go to Ray. Ray?
Yes. Hi, Ken. This is great. Fantastic. If you were certified before with Teleometrics, and I have all the videos and all the good stuff like that, and I've used it. It's been a while, but I've used it. How does that interact with what you're doing? Are you going to have a certification process? I guess I'm trying to get an understanding of that.
Not sure if that's to me or to Kent.
Either one, whoever handles it.
Okay, yes. Well, first of all, if you've been through it, you understand. All this is doing is taking the place of the paper.
Okay.
So instead of using paper, you're going to be using an online version. And as far as certification, yes, I have talked to Kent about doing some certification. And again, with the media that we have now with GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar, et cetera, I think it's going to really help us in the future with our training and development of people understanding this system and telemetrics as it is. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Now there's a follow-up to that. I've had on small basis companies who I have like certified, and then they've gone out and and they just basically purchase and take care of. It's like a reoccurring type of thing. It didn't go as far as I like, but I see this going much, much further. Is that part of what would be included?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? I guess not. Okay. I'm going to go to Ian. Ian, you're live. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. On the question of getting the email, I did not get the email, so I don't know why that is.
Okay, I did get my email. It could be, not sure what email address you gave the system when you registered. but that's the email that it would have went to. And we can check
Okay.
that out, and if you don't have it, we can take care of that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Oh, okay. Alan, I see your hands up. Alan, you're unmuted on my end. Okay, I'm not hearing Alan. I see Lisa has her hand back up again. Are you back with us, Lisa? Nope. Oh, there's Alan.
Sam?
Alan, did you get yourself?
Sam, it looks like you may have muted everyone.
Everybody is muted when they first start. Let me see if I can do this and then unmute Alan. Okay, Alan, you're unmuted.
Good, good. Okay. Alan, you there? Alan?
Okay. Yeah, and Lisa keeps losing her microphone. Oh, she's on the telephone.
Uh-oh. Ah, lovely technology.
Yeah. When it works well, it's great. I've been sending her her pin, audio pin sent.
I think we can.
Okay. At this point,
There we go.
Okay. You want to move on because I'm not having a whole lot of luck here.
Yep. We can do that. And Lisa, if you want to type your question in, if you can hear me. I see you're looking for a code down there in the text. But and who else? Edwards.
Okay. Edwards.
Edwards, you there?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hey, I can, yes.
Yeah, because I had to hang up. I was using my speaker in the computer, and my laptop's iffy, so I had to use the dial-in feature, which I think is always more effective than people trying to talk through their speakers and mic. Anyway, it wasn't so much as of a question, just as kind of a statement of where I'd like to go with this. And Kent and I have talked about this offline for a while, and I still have to take those assessments that are in my queue. But where I'd like to go, I was kind of waiting for this to evolve just a little bit too, just to make it easier to send this out to clients. But and Kent kind of knows what I'm about to say. But where I'd like to go, and it's on the subject of collaboration as well, is with our clients who are spread out a little bit, is very effective to kind of sell it and then have them take the assessment, get the report, be involved in a webinar that could be like 75 minutes, and then to do additional follow-up coaching with the participants after that. So it's really a three-step process, and we perfected that in our use of the DISC and Motivators tool as a development tool. We have a webinar for that and coaching. We're doing that with Fascination Advantage, and we figured that out, and now we want to do it with all of these assessments. So the idea is to create a webinar product that can be sold and people can enroll into either as a closed group or as an open enrollment, and we do both with these other systems, so people can learn it without having to do a physical workshop. And by keeping it to 75 minutes, we found that is a realistic number. You can accomplish a lot and still get a lot of involvement. And usually the group size is anywhere from 2 to 12 people in those types of webinars. And we just use the Join.me platform and don't have any problem at all with people talking and that kind of thing, like we are with this system at the moment. So I'm interested in getting this down into educational sessions, and I'll work with whoever wants to work on that, because there's a lot of work to be done. And whether Kent already has such PowerPoints ready to go to train in that fashion, that's what we'll be starting with if he can provide that, and we'll go from there.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good, Edwards. And even in the sort of discussion form that I talked about, I'm happy to share some of the materials that we have. I do have PowerPoints together around all the tools that we can share. I saw Lisa had asked about the reports, the online reports in PDF are different than the original paper versions. And part of what we were trying to do there is actually still provide some of the background on the theory, but simplify those reports so they're more approachable and easier to use. And I hope we've accomplished that, but at the same time, remember, this is evolutionary, and what we want to do is make these reports as useful as possible, and perhaps take, J-Hall was brilliant, but often the material in those books could be a bit dense and academic. So we've made some judgment around enhancing and simplifying those reports. And Lisa, for example, if you don't agree, I would welcome your feedback, because we can, the nice thing is these are online. These reports are in a WYSIWYG report writer. I can tweak and adjust as needed, and as we as a group feel that we can add things that are useful. We'll need a vetting process, but I think that can be part of the evolution. As the technology evolves, the reports can evolve, and we can collaboratively begin to share tools like PowerPoints that people can use to facilitate the use of these tools. I think those are all great ideas. Additional questions? Sam, do we have anyone else out there? I thought
well, to answer Lisa, yes, the certification that you went through does count. And as far as additional questions, the only other hand I see that is up is Alan's, and we still can't hear him for whatever reason.
Okay. And I don't know if he typed a question in, but Alan, if you can hear us, feel free to type your question in, and I'd be happy to address it. Okay. Or just give me a call after the call, and we can address it one-on-one. So the
hold on a minute. Mark
yep.
Send us a question. Mark Way sent us a question that says, is the conflict resolution model also available?
The conflict resolution, we haven't created the online version yet, but that is something that we can easily do. Just to put it in perspective, it's typically about a few hours of work to put a Teleo assessment online. We put the Core 6 online. We set them up. We created the revised simplified reports for them, did all of those things for that Core 6. But beyond that, there are a variety of other Teleo tools that are available, like the conflict resolution, that I am also a fan of and would love to move those online as well. And Mark, my position on that is this is all brand new. We're rolling it out. We want to see how you guys take to it, and is it delivering, is it useful for you, and are you guys actually selling it and using it? And that will motivate Sam and I to look at other areas and other opportunities to improve the technology and to move other assessments online. And one of the keys here with that is the technology. We have an active software development process underway with essentially bi-weekly software releases. We're releasing about every other week. And that process allows us the ability to begin to further refine things like reporting capabilities. Like, I'd like to continue to improve and create more sophisticated abilities for you to download and like aggregate reports of a whole group of assessments, and to simplify the test taking. Like, we're doing what's called a battery implementation in the system now, where you can set up 3 or 4 Teleo assessments and send them out as one link. So if you want to do communication, motivation, and power, and you want to just use those 3 with a client, we will have a capability where you'll be able to order those 3 and set your system up so that you can send one invitation out, one email to your customer, to your client participant, and it'll walk them through all 3. So this idea of creating a battery is coming, and there are other things I have in mind that our system will evolve. So the beauty is your input will help drive future development. What you see is not necessarily what you get. It will continue to evolve over time.
Okay, and we do have a question from Austin. Austin, I have you unmuted. Do you want to ask your question?
Hey Sam, this is Joe. Me and Austin are both here together. Joe Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions about the, one is, how does the fee structure work with this?
Do you want me to address that? Yeah.
Well, either you or Sam.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you're okay with that, Sam, I'll address it. The current price structure is that each of the Teleo assessments has basically a leader assessment, or self for the participant, and then feedback from others, typically subordinate employees. So the leader assessment is $19.95. The multi-rater feedback assessment that includes the leader and their feedback is $49.95, and the individual feedback assessment is $14.95. So that's the current price structure. Now that's the retail structure. I think if I'm correct, Sam, the partner discount levels, all that will come into play on that, I believe. But that's the current retail structure. Did I get that right, Sam?
That's correct.
Yeah, good.
Right.
Okay.
And then I have a second question. Based on what you're doing with the online assessments, how does that impact the models for management that is currently you're able to do it online?
Yes, and Sam, that platform is still online. As far as I know, it's available to be used. You would just replace paper tools with the online versions. We don't have any plans right now for any sort of integration of the learning piece, sort of that online learning system right now. And I know there are some compatibility problems because it's a little dated. So that's available. It's there. Sam, I'm not sure what the plans are for that. I haven't really been connected to that.
You're right. It's there, but as far as moving forward, we're looking at updating the whole line. So it can be used in multiple different ways. If you want to use the online one, you can use the online one. If you want to use these and facilitate it online, that's also available.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And Lisa asked, when will these be available? Lisa, yesterday.
Yesterday. Hey, Sam, I like that. You're both thinking the same way. There, you can call and order them today. And I encourage all of you to do that right after the call. Buy 40 or 50 units.
Okay, and Jennifer Lay has a question here. That would be Mike's wife, if I'm not mistaken. Jennifer, you are unmuted.
Thank you. We are about to launch 360 with one of our current clients. Do we still use the login that we've used in the past, or do we use this new system?
No, you're talking about the DNI 360, and you're going to use the one you've used in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. That's great. Got about 2 minutes remaining. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer. Just some closing thoughts here. I'm excited to see all of you go ahead and we sent out the complimentary survey. By the way, Ian, just so you know, that was sent to, the email was igdawson@gmail.com. Looks like your current email, I'm getting a picture. So it went out, so you may want to check your spam folder. But those went out. I encourage you to complete them. It's set up so you'll get your results immediately. You'll be able to see the PDF, look at your own results, see how it's all set up. And please give me feedback, thoughts about that. But next Friday, we're scheduled for the second webinar. And I'm excited about that. We're actually going to explore the full model and go through each of the assessments and ways that you might be able to use them within a program and have some discussion around that. So I'm excited to sort of look at the entire array of assessment tools that are available and interact with you perhaps a little more on how to use those tools within programs. So hopefully this generates some thinking about that, thinking about how you might be able to use the tools, and next Friday we can talk about it. So I hope you will all join that webinar.
Okay, and just so that everybody understands, you do have to register for each one of the webinars individually. Just registering for the first one does not mean that you are registered for any of the following ones. And it looks like that's it. Do you have one more screen that you were going to show us? It says thank you.
Well, I have, yeah, thanks for joining. And welcomes you to attend the next Friday, and I do appreciate everybody joining us today. It was a great group. We had a nice turnout here. So I'm excited to roll Teleo out and help you all with ways to use it, and certainly use me as a resource. Send me emails if you have questions as we go. I'll do my best to answer that and help you out. So thanks, everybody. See you next Friday.
Okay, and this was recorded, so I will be sending everybody a copy of the recording so that you can review it. And like Ken said, we'll see you next Friday. Thank you for attending.
Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.